Hey, how you doing? This is Kitch, and you are watching me play Factorio. We are back on the creative world, and I'm back looking at trains. A lot of comments on the last video. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. There were a lot of suggestions, things to try, improvements to make in some areas, a lot of good stuff. There was one comment in particular that got me thinking. And it wasn't the exact comment, but what it got me thinking was, what am I looking for here? What am I trying to do? And I don't know if I had a clear goal in the last episode when I started out. And I had an episode to go out today, or I guess it's yesterday, depending on when this goes out. And I didn't get that out because I basically am re-recording it because I needed to think a little bit. What's the goal here? What are we trying to accomplish? I don't really have one. And I know that's silly. I think, there's just a lot of stuff. I've seen stuff with Factorio, right? We're looking at, I'm at the vanilla, right? You don't have anything set up on the trains. It's just everything's named the same and you're letting the trains go. And I'm looking at this and I've got these two stations. We've had 0 trains visit this whole time. 29 have visited this one. 1,300 have been down here. The ones that are closer, 14, 19. This is a behavior that I've seen in Factorio a lot. I've seen a lot of suggestions on what to do to fix it and counteract it and do things like that. And I just want to test those out and see the behaviors that you get from all of these different things. And I've learned some things, and that is what I think is the most important thing that I'm going for with all this. I'm not really trying to find the best setup because in reality I don't think there is one. It's very conditional on what it is you're trying to accomplish, right? There's not going to be a one-all fix-all for everything, unless there is. If it is, I'm sure it involves a lot of circuits. But I just thought it'd be good to set some of these up and kind of evaluate them. Look at what happens. Look at the behaviors that you get. We're in a creative world, right? Let's test some of this stuff out, just so that we can have a little bit more knowledge. I was reading something, listening to something, watching something. I don't know. It all blurs together for me in a while. But they were talking about the different types of knowledge you can get, right? There's basically experience, knowledge from experience. You do something and you learn about it. You touch the hot stove, you find out that it's hot. That's knowledge right there that you gain from your own personal experience. There's knowledge that you learn from an authority, something like stuff you read in a book, or you watch a documentary on something, or something that somebody teaches you. That you get not necessarily from experience, but it's knowledge that you gain from other people, and it's by far probably the most knowledge that you have. And then there's like your God-given knowledge, what some call instinct. Some people don't actually believe that's a thing, and it's not a religious thing. It's just, do you have instincts or not, depending on the philosophy or the worldview. But it's just basic. I guess you'd call it common sense kind of things. Those instincts that you have that you just know deep down in your soul. But yeah, there's those 3 kind of knowledges, right? And like I said, for the most part of it, it mostly comes from authority, things you learn. But knowledge can be true or false, right? For example, take the round Earth / flat Earth thing, and I'm not going to even touch that with a 10-foot pole. I'm just using it as an example. One of those is true, one of those is false. Most of us have our opinion based off of that because we haven't been to space. We haven't observed to get that knowledge. We get it from authority, right? And one of those is true, one of those is false. That's just the way it is. So if you can get the opportunity to test something that you've heard and get some experience with that, in my mind, it becomes a little bit more powerful knowledge, right? I can look at this and say this particular setup. I could read about how this particular setup doesn't work as well for throughput. But now I've got timers and counters and things like that. I've got experience here to know that this isn't great. So basically, that's what I'm going with this. And hoping to find a really cool design too. Just kind of a wow factor, right? That's what we're really looking for. All right, so yeah, I mentioned that I set up some of these counters. Let's throw some metrics at it. We're not necessarily looking for an answer, but it's nice to know, right? So basically what these counters do up here is they count the amount of ore that's coming through here a second. I believe if the calculation is correct, the optimal goal here is 480 is what we should be seeing here. I don't know why I put so many boxes. It just kind of balanced it all out. So we're at 319 here with that vanilla setup. We're getting 4 empty belts. As I mentioned, we've got a train station that still hasn't been visited this whole time while we're looking at 1400 down here on these others. So yeah, let's just take a look at the ones we looked at in the last video to see what those numbers are. That's 319 for that one. 449, this was, the individual setup with only 6 trains, by the way. So that's 449 with 6 trains, while the other ones have 12. 385, okay, I don't remember what that one was. 479, okay, this is like the max value you can get, because I'm assuming because of floating point errors, because these counters are only integers. I'm assuming that's what that gets to, but I've never seen anything over 480, and this one's been just popping the whole time. This is actually, believe it or not, the one where the stations are turned off. So even with the mad train syndrome, we're still cranking out maximum throughput here. Let's see, 375. Oh, I remember now. These are both the same thing where we turn off the stations. This is the one that has half the number of trains. So this one's got double trains. That one has 6, and that one has the 12. So throwing more trains at it, that's a way to adjust that. I don't remember what this one was. We'll go. Oh, that's the one where with the logic and fewer trains. This is the one with the station logic where you turn one of them off of the pairs. It's reaching maximum as well, which is interesting. Even with these little lags in here, I think I know what's causing that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And this one over here at 460 was the last one. The one with the intermediate stations. So, yeah, it was kind of surprising to me that the one that was basically just rampant mad train syndrome was one of the higher throughput ones. And I went down here and put some text plates on these just to say where we are. Yeah, that's the one with the buffer stations. This is the one that's pulling out the most ore. That's the one, the most ore with less trains. And this one right here where we turn off the station is actually our winner. Well, there were some other suggestions that were made in the last video, so I thought I would go ahead and try out some of those. We've got this guy right here. Now, this suggestion, apparently it's fairly common knowledge. I had actually never run into it before, and I feel like I searched this before. But granted, it's been a while, so maybe it's a newer discovery. I don't know. Maybe I just need to Google better. The idea behind this one is to, instead of turning off the station based off of that, we turn off the signal that reads the station. Now, this is going to give us fairly similar numbers to, wow, that's actually dropped. Oh, no, this is the one that I played with. This is the one right here. Same idea, same concept. A little bit different implementation over there. 479, there we go. Just by turning off the station. And gives us the same number as turning off the station. I guess that kind of makes sense. But we don't get mad train syndrome. Because mad train syndrome is caused by the station turning off as the train is trying to go to it. And it can't path to anything else, so it just gives up and passes on through. So none of the stations turn off, so you don't get that. It doesn't look like it gives us a whole lot, but hey, max throughput is max throughput. This is also really easy to set up. You can blueprint this design fairly well, and just paste it all around. There's nothing going on. The pickup logic is the same as the drop-off logic, so we've got the signals turned off whenever there's more than 2,000 ore in the pickup station. They'll go and pick up. And yeah, it's just been doing fantastic. Very, very, very nice. This is one that was someone mentioned in the comments, and I've actually seen this proposed as a solution before. Basically, what this is I'm reading all of the chest contents out and sending that out as a signal. So the contents of this is going out as signal 1. And I'm doing that for all of them. You can look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the total number of items they have in each one of their chests. And that's all going down into here and feeding into these combinators. And I'm saying basically if the output of everything is greater than that, we're going to go ahead and output that signal. And what that does essentially is on these, it gives us the one with the least amount of ore in it. And on the pickup stations, it gives us the one with the max amount of ore in it. So you can see over here on the left, the green signals on the bottom are all of our totals of our stations. And right now, 6, the red signal up top, is the one that has the least. And you can see they're in descending order there in green on the bottom. And you can see that the lowest one is always the one that is active. The numbers aren't so good on this. And it's kind of a throughput thing as I've been observing it. We're only at 415. And even though we've had 700 trains come through, wow, this thing's been running a while. The reason why is it takes some time for this train to fill up these chests enough in order to open up another station. So there's a little bit of a delay there. Like, see, 2, oh, wait, no. See if we can detect that. Let's see, 6 is the open one, so that is, oh, no, I'm looking at this in reverse. So yeah, even though that train's been there for a while, okay, 1 still. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay there, and I think that really kind of messes up the throughput a little bit. It's just slow. Just very slow. I thought maybe, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was thinking that if we min-maxed it with just fewer trains, I don't know what I was thinking there. Of course, that didn't work out better. I don't know why I thought it would work. But that made me think of another solution that I'd saw before, where you do pretty much the same thing, but I send out an extra signal that basically just, it's for totaling just everything. Totaling everything in this entire station. Dividing it by 6, the number of stations to get the average. And then we turn on all the stations that are less than the average. Same thing for the pickups. We're going to pick up the ones that are greater than the average. And that's given us 3 stations open at a time, or 2 in this case. And it's working out better. It's still non-fantastic. We got 455 as opposed to the max that we can get, which is 480. So it's you know, they're solutions. They work, but that's the raw numbers right there. As to what you're capable of doing, at least with the way that I have set it up. And I think I've set it up right. At least I think I have. Did I have a car over here somewhere? I lose my cars. It's okay. It's way over there. That's fine. We'll just take a little trip over there and check out things. Yeah, 1300. 1337 right there. Fantastic. The way I'm looking at it right now, if even consistent throughput is what you're looking for, turning off the station, turning off the signal, the advice is good. I just looking at the numbers, they work. They give you a good maximum throughput, give you a even distribution over time, and they seem to work. Even with the Mad Train Syndrome. So, I got to thinking a little bit more, and this isn't a really realistic situation. It's a nice little test setup, but in reality, what you may be looking at is something a little bit more like this. And yeah, I probably should have radared down here. Let's go ahead and get down here a little bit further. Starting to get a little bit of UPS lag. It's better. So what I did here is it's the exact same drop-off station, but I split up the pickup stations into 3 separate chunks, some further away than others. This is basically like the final round, right? In this scenario, I have everything set up to, it's basically set to turn off with the signal. If this signal is less than 2K, we're going to go ahead and shut this signal off because there's not enough ore for it to fill up. I added these little counters on the side. So now it's above 2,000. That'll turn on. That one's above 2,000. It will turn on. And let's just see. Consistency-wise, 660 up there, roughly. Down here, we're looking at 656. That's pretty close. And even at this station over here, that's the furthest away. Let's hop back in our car. We're looking at 655. So actually, this is looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good as far as the even train deliveries, if that's what you're looking for. Again, you know, just observations here. And we're getting the maximum number on the throughput in this scenario. So, yeah, that looks like a pretty darn good way to do it to me. Over here, I've got my my normal setup, just kind of as a control. We're getting max throughput. Everything is going to be pretty much dead even. I wonder why it's not. I don't know. I actually doubled up the trains in this scenario, or in this setup. So we're running 12. I was running 6 before, and I was getting about 410, 405 for the number, which, you know, it sounds like a lot less, but it's half the number of trains. So I'm thinking that this one actually might be the most, the bestest, mostest, as far as actual technical throughput is concerned. But I put that signal there. That's probably what's messing up all these counts. But yeah, no, it's been doing pretty well as well. I got to thinking, you know, which one is easier to set up? Like if you were just going to make like a generic one. And this one doesn't require any circuits or anything, but it does require a unique name. So you have all the overhead of naming the station unique, as well as setting up the train route for each individual station. Where this one does have some circuit logic, but it's easily blueprintable. And well, the only adjustment you would have to make is the item, because they don't all stack the same. Like ore stacks at 50. If you were picking up plate, you'd have to change that because they stack at 100. So there's actually more that can fit in the car. So there's a little bit of overhead there, but I think that could be controlled by a constant combinator, maybe. And yeah, you just set it that way. I don't know. But you don't have to worry about. You just add more trains, right? You just add more trains and add the generic station names and send them off. So I don't know. It's got me thinking that the way that I have been doing it is not bad. But if you want a more generic way, I think that would be a pretty good way to do it as well. And, you know, sometimes there's just a coolness factor. And there's sometimes, you know, there's just a design that comes along that just makes you happy. Cornosian took the time to set this up, and I must wear my heart on my sleeve, my deepest desires on my sleeve, because he just made exactly what I was thinking in my mind. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, 4. There we go. There you go, number 4. And then number 5 is going to come right here. And then finally, we're going to get a guy up here on the top. And this setup is fantastic. And then it's going to start over and come around. It's kind of similar to the min-max thing, but he does it by adjusting the signals. And it's fantastic. He's got a video. I'll link it in the description if that's okay. And where he sets it up, and it just This is what I was looking for right here. Numbers wise, it's not bad. And I don't think this is really the fault of the station so much. 475, it's not quite max. It probably gives a lot different numbers. I was confused about what to do. I mean, I've been doing everything like, you know, same pickup logic and the same drop-off logic. And down here on the pickup, what I've done is, the way this works is, you know, it goes through and just basically turns on one station at a time and just kind of transitions really quickly. So the way I've got it is, this is like 1, 2, then it opens up this one, 3, 4, and then 5, and then 6. And I don't know that that's the best way to do it. I'm thinking probably what I should have done was broken it up into like groups of 2, 2, 2, and 2. And basically just alternated between the 2 instead of, you know, bringing them all into play here. One thing you'll notice on this as well is I have this little escape tunnel right here, and I've actually put this in a couple of places. And I discovered a new train syndrome, and that is what I'm calling train obsession. It's unhealthy obsession. In that they were stacking up here. I used to have a 6 tall stacker right here. And they would just stack up, and there'd be 6 of them waiting for these stations. And because they were closed by the signals, they weren't going anywhere. So I put this little exit right there, and eventually they'd give up and move on to another station. When you've got all these... See, there's a little bit of obsession going on here. It's like they're all just sitting there waiting. And if you increase this stacker, they'll just fill it up even more. And I put some of those in some of the other... It's not limited to Cornosian's design. This is just one of the areas I saw it. I was seeing it in all of them. So yeah, we're diagnosing train problems. We've got the mad train syndrome as well as the obsessive train syndrome. Yeah, and like this one, I've got it turned off by the signals. They were just super obsessed with this station. And it's weird because they weren't over here with this station. With the exact same pickup logic, they weren't obsessed with this one, but they were on this one for some reason. And I don't know, I put this little exit, and it made it work out really good. Yeah, I had like 6 stacked, and it was like always full. It was like all my trains were just waiting right here. It was affecting throughput. But this one right here is basically a hybrid approach. I broke this out to where all the pickup stations are done by the signals, and we're looking at 173, 174, 174, 173. All right, this is looking pretty, yeah, you're getting a little obsessed there. Yeah, they're starting to obsess over this station now. Yeah, it affects throughput a little bit because they can't escape. They don't. The one advantage turning off the station is eventually one of them would give up. In this particular case, they just sit and wait until the stations open up. And sometimes a train coming in will steal it, and then these guys just have to wait forever. But anywho, yeah, this setup right here, I've got the pickups all working off of that, and the drop-off, I have Cornosian set up. Just to see if we could max some of this stuff out, and it's honestly looking pretty good. I'm liking the look of it a lot. We are getting maximum throughput, 478. What's up with that? Oh, 479. Oh, 478. Get back up there. There you go. You stay up there. And that was it's working out. It's working out really well. This is definitely a little bit more difficult to set up, but it works the way you expect it to. Whenever I first dropped this down, there were some puddles. And there was a problem. Puddles, just a couple little tile piece of water. Some of the belts were messed up, and some other things didn't go down right. And it was super easy to diagnose what the problem was. The problem is that we had some belts that were messed up, so these chests were overfilling. And one of these trains would stay in the station longer than it took the things to cycle, so it was really killing things. But it was really easy to diagnose what was going on because you have the expected behavior here. You know exactly what's going to happen, exactly what should happen. So it was really easy to figure out what the problem was. But yeah, that's just cool. All right. Well, so yeah, I'm sorry to beat this dead horse, as it were, but I feel like I have learned a whole lot about trains, and most importantly, I found out what I really thought was a big problem really isn't such much a problem at all. And I also found that the way that I had always been addressing that problem is perfectly fine. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to go through and look and just see some of the different ways trains go. Well, I am going to go through and turn off some of these stations, I think, because right now it's just starting to drag a little bit. I think we're getting a lot of UPSage right now, and I want to add some more stuff in here. So yeah, let's go turn off some trains, and I will see you in the next episode, where we're going to look at something else. Not quite sure what yet, but we will definitely look at it. All right, see you next time. Have a good one.